Welcome to this tutorial introducing Illustrator and how to create our coaster caddy designs in Illustrator. So to start off, we want to go new, create a new page. We're going to select an A4 page, making sure it's in landscape, and we've selected millimeters. So to help us design, I would like you to set up your page with a grid, and I want us to select snapped grid, which means when we're designing, if I could just create a box for a second, you can see that it's snapping to the grid rather than snapping to points or anything else, which helps us to design and create things to scale. I also want us to set up our rulers. So view rulers, show rulers, which creates a bit more detail to our grid. And you can see in the top left-hand corner, we've got 0, 0, and it goes 10, 20, 30, etc. Now to set up your ruler and your grid sizes, if you do edit, preferences, guides and grids, you can set your grid. I would recommend a grid line every 10 mil, that's our big defined lines, and then the subdivisions of 5, which means every 2 mil there's a smaller grid line to help you. So to start off, I want us to select our rectangle. If it's not showing, just right click and you can select the different shapes underneath it. And I want us to create in the center of our page, create a 100 by 100 rectangle. Now, if you can't work that out with the rulers, you can come always onto the property section on the side and set it to 100 width, 100 height. Now you can see it's fill in the middle. We want to get rid of that fill and select none, so we've just got outlines. Now we want to start creating our edge sections that fold up, so I'm just going to select a line segment tool. I just need to click off my square. From the corners, I've just noticed that my box isn't aligned to a grid line, so I'm just going to set it onto the big grid lines, and you can see from 100 to 200 there. Now selecting my line tool, I'm going to create 2 fold up sides and the lines at 20 mil and complete that, making sure I've just met at each point. Now, that's one option, just nice square edges that will be folded up. The other option, and another skill I'll show you, is creating, again with the lines, but stopping 4 mil, so 2 of the subdivisions short of the corner. And what we can do, instead of having a pointed edge, is to create an arc. Now, if your arc isn't showing, come to the 3 dots and you can scroll down and find it there. This is my arc tool here. All you need to do is click and drag, and you can drag it over onto your tool section. So I'm going to work with my arc, selecting point to point, and create a nice round edges of my coaster design. Now I just want to check. You can see that that's quite seamless and they've joined up well. Now, to create a nice curved edge, a continuous curve along the top, I'm going to create 2 lines again, just only 10 mil this time. And I'm going to select my pen tool. And from the point, if I click once and let it drag, what I can do is select the midpoint, so halfway between the 2. So that would be 150 on my design. Click and hold, you can start to create curves. So I want to keep it on the horizontal until I've got a nice curve that I want, and then reflect it evenly. Excellent. Now, if we want a more kind of free-formed curve to create things like mountains or waves, I'm going to create, again, just that 10 mil line, just so we've got a firm edge of our edge box. And I'm going to select our pen tool. So always clicking to start, and then we want to find our next point that we want to make a curve over. You can start to drag. You can drag it back down. So you're just using the little levers to start creating curves that you want. my recommendation would be use minimal points and times you click, and you create more cohesive curves. You can always come in later and adjust those curves. So say I haven't quite done what I want, I can click my white mouse tool, click back in, I can move my points, and I can also adjust the curve of them. You can also add more points in using other skills. Say that one's too pointy, I want to round it a little bit more. Oops, that's my point. Okay, and you can start to adjust them as you wish. You can create shapes like waves at a bit more specificity if you wish. All right. So just again with this, you just want to create an anchor, which is these points at a point that you want to start changing direction. So a bottom of a curve or a top of a curve. Now, if we want to raster set images like words or shapes or different features, you just select, oops, let's go into my drawing. Selecting text, I can just start typing. Now, if I hold shift, I can keep that to scale if I want to adjust the size. Now, if you need to reflect that so that it can be like mirrored, so that if you laser cut, it comes the right way, I'll just show you how to do that. You go Object, Transform, Reflect, and I want to reflect it on the vertical plane, and I just select OK. You can see it's just reflected it. To create shapes, you can use like the pen tool, create freeform shapes. I'm just going to show you with a star tool because that's a preset feature. Just going to create a star. I want it about there. If I want 2 stars, but I want them slightly different, I can do Control C, so to copy it, and to Control F, will paste another star exactly in the same place. So now you can see if I drag it off, you can see there's 2 of them. I want to just keep the same shape, but slightly make it smaller. And if I hold it out on the corner, slightly rotate it. Excellent. Now we've got our different shapes on there. Now you can see all the lines are black. What I want us to do is to change select the center box. Now to ensure that that gets engraved with the laser cutter, we need to change the fill of the line to blue, so RGB true blue. You can just adjust that by saying B255, green and red 0 and 0. Now we want to come over to properties and we want to adjust the stroke to 0.001, and that'll ensure that it's a really fine line that it's picked up by the laser cutter to engrave. Now all these outside edges, instead of engraving them, what we want to do is cut them. Now the laser cutter recognizes red as the cut color, so I'm just selecting all my outside edges. I think I've missed one there. And I'm going to take that to true red, which is 255 red, 0, 0. And then my stroke is 0.001 again. Now that is for the really fine line. Now my raster in black, that will just create a etched marking in my acrylic. If I can't quite see the lines, you can go View on CPU, it'll make it a bit darker. You can also click View and hide your grid so that you can see it a bit darker. One last thing is that you can create cutouts, making whatever shape you want inside. I'm just going to change my fill and make my lines RGB red because that is cut. And you can see there I'll have a little cutout. You can also create engraved shapes around that and whatever you like.